Matty Ice cards, big raised ball cards. Hi Don, I meant to type. Matty Ice card saying, hey Mark. Alright, got a few people showing up on this. Fairfield Friday on a Saturday. Hopefully everybody's good today on this Saturday. Yep, it's a Saturday. Don't usually do a Saturday, but I want to see if I can get double digits today. Shooting for double digits. We got 2 people watching. That's fine. We're going to have some fun today. We're going to get our content in. We're going to do Kenesaw Mountain Landis, the first commissioner of baseball, amongst other things in his life. We've got quite the biography going on today. Could not fit it in a short stream, that's for sure. So, but we'll have fun today. We'll go through our advertisement. We'll get into our content for today, and I already mentioned to my wife, I said next week I'm going to be back on my regular schedule. Going to be back on my regular schedule for sure. What's that mean? Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. I invented something new. I combined a laxative with alphabet soup. I call it letter rip. Letter rip. I like that, Big Ray. Letter rip. Yeah, I need to get some of that recipe soon too. Maybe it'll help me be more regular instead of being the irregular person I am. Boy, sometimes I'm a poet and I don't even know it. But hopefully you all are having a great Saturday. Again, what better way to spend an oddball Saturday than with Donald and friends? Yep, here's our Fairfield. I've got, after this one here, I've got 2 more Fairfields left if Lock and 99's lurking about in the background there. But that's okay. If we don't have anything, I got plenty of packs now. I got loaded up on packs, and I don't know, I gotta open up some more boxes that I got in from Gourmet Breaks. I don't know if I'd have enough space. Actually, yeah, I almost forgot. I gotta give him credit for that. I gotta find out how much that humongous, well, I know what it is. Might just have to throw Justin in there with his, I got 3 large flat rate boxes, and then I got a 50-pound box of goodies. Oh, I can't wait to share some of the stuff I got in these boxes. Oh my word, it's gonna be fun for sure. But other than that, TMI Don, TM. What's a TM? TMI Don, TMI. TMI. Well, that I combined a laxative with an alphabet soup and call it letter rip. Letter rip. I like that. Letter rip. Letter rip. Oh, we could tell stories about that. It's all tied in with my metformin that my doctor has me on, along with probably 2 other type 2 diabetic medications. Too much information about your irregularity. Oh, don't worry. Don't worry. I have to mark it on the calendar every time I have a BM. But that's okay. That's because I don't want to go too long where it's just backed up too far, if you know what I mean. I know. Too much information about your irregularity. Oh, that's what happens when you get older. That's what happens when you get older. But we're going to get into our content on hand. I got to get my other computer up to date here. Got to get my other computer up to date here. Here I'm having so much fun here, and it says new Chrome available. Man, every day this thing updates my Chrome. I don't know what's going on here with Chrome. I don't know for sure. Let me see. Let me get this one loaded up with the chat. That'll give us our Maddie, you brought us ice cards. Ice cards. Maddie, ice cards. Okay, so let me see here. Looks like I was running a little bit late, that's for sure. But let me go up. There we go, 208. 208 plus 5 is 13, and then we will now end the early birds because we're past that 5-minute mark. But that's okay because everybody knows I go past my early birds until we're definitely good to go. Sweet Fancy Moses, definitely TMI. Now you're cracking me up. No problem there, Mark. I will lay off on the humor there as much as possible. There we go. Go to the live chat there. Make sure we get updated. End of the early birds. But then again, remember how it works. Remember how Bernie H. Definitely Maddie. Definitely Maddie. Alright, so we got 208. We got Maddie Ice. But first off, I got to get into my commercial before I can get into logging things in. So let's get going here. Let's get going here. Our new 2024 Patreon tiers. Nobody's signed up for these rookie class tiers yet, but that's okay. We got a whole year to work on it. And if I don't get anybody in those tiers, we'll come up with a new tier for 2025. We'll keep filling it up until I got so many tiers I won't know what to do with them all. But that's okay. Again, the rookie class tiers, which will include rookie cards, rated rookies, gold cups, rising stars, prospects, minor leaguers, etc., etc. The triple tiers will contain one newer rookie card type. The triple 3 tier 1, 4 cards. Triple 5s tier 2, 6 cards. Triple 7s tier 3, 8 cards. Triple 9s tier 4, 10 cards. And then we go into our quad tiers, which are the upper end ones, which will contain one Hall of Fame rookie card. Because I do have a lot of Hall of Fame rookie cards in my Hall of Fame rookie card collection, I might as well share my extras with people in the channel. So we got our quad 1s tier 5, 12 cards, quad 2s tier 6, 25 cards, and quad 3s tier 7, 40 cards. So that is our new Patreon tiers for 2024. Put that off to the side for now. Now we'll get into our early birds. We're at 297. All we need is 3 people. We got at least 3 people here for sure. Plus you get 2 for your early bird entries. All we need is we got the people here. We're gonna hit the 3rd tier. So I'm gonna put 3 prizes on the wheel here. We are going to be up to 3 prizes today. Actually, probably by the start of the new week, next week, we'll probably be up to 4, possibly close to 5 prizes. Making up for, yeah. Well, I know what I paid for postage for the packages that Justin sent me from Gourmet Breaks. That's 20, 40, 60 plus another 80 plus. Yeah, I know what I got to give for Justin Gore for Gourmet Breaks. Yep, that would put us pretty much 300, 400, just over 400 entries. That's for sure. It's going to be by the start of next week on Tuesday. So let's get Bernie H. Big Ray. I live in Michigan, the Upper Peninsula. Yeah, you're that little finger that goes across, right? In the the Michigan Upper Peninsula. It's kind of interesting how Michigan's here, and then they have the little peninsula up there, close up into Canada there, right? But let's go ahead and get ready to rock and roll here. We got Matty Ice Cards was first in the live stream today, so Matty Ice Cards, you get a 2+. Matty Ice Card gets a 2+. And then we got Big Ray. We got Big Ray's in here with a 2+. Big Ray, Matty Ice, Big Ray, Matty Ice. Then we got Bernie H. Hey, I'm stopping in for a minute, having lots of snow snowblower, about 14 inches and drifting. I understand there, Bernie. Even if, and you're probably gone by now, but that's okay. Thanks. Appreciate you stopping by. I know you'll watch the replay later. It's gonna be a bang up Mountain Landis, Kenesaw Mountain Landis biography for today. That's for sure. So then we got Matty Ice Cards. We got the Matty Ice. We got Big Ray. We got Bernie. Matty Ice, Big Ray, Big Ray, Big Ray. Matty Ice, Big Ray, Bernie H. I'm headed back out right now. Understand there, Bernie. You take care. Appreciate you popping into the stream. I know Saturday's probably a busy day for you. It just goes away on its own. Well, yeah, eventually that snow will go away on its own, but that area of the United States is getting a lot of snow this time of year. They're even talking about snow down in Arizona. Oh my word, you know it's cold if they get snow down in Arizona. So is that all we got there? We got Big Ray, we got Bernie H, and we got Matty Ice Cards. Is that our own people in the show? We got 7 hanging out in the background there. Shows we've got 7 hanging out in the background there. Let me do a refresh here real quick. Did I miss anybody? Speak now or forever hold your peace. I got Bernie H, Big Ray, and Matty Ice Cards. Oh, Lockin 99 is in here. I see Lockin sneaking in. Lockin snuck in there. That gives us a Lockin for sure. Alright, so we got Lockin, Matty Ice, Bernie. Did I miss anybody? We got Matty Ice, Big Ray, Matty Ice, Big Ray, Matty Ice, Bernie H, Matty Ice, Big Ray, Ball. Man, it was cold last night when we were coming back from visiting our grandson in Everett. When we left last night to come home, it was 10 degrees. I mean, no, it was 18. It was supposed to get down to 10 degrees. That's pretty cold for us here. That's for sure. But Bernie H, Matty Ice, Big Ray, Matty Ice, Big Ray, Lockin 99 popped in here. Bernie H, Big Ray. 14 inches of snow. Yeah, that's a lot of snow. That's like over 2 foot. 14 inches is over 2 foot of snow. That's going to be like almost up to my knees. That's a lot of snow. I don't like that much snow here. We could see it in the mountains. We could see it in the mountains all the time here. But I don't like it being close near me. Hawaii even had a winter storm warning. Oh my word, Hawaii had a winter storm warning? The volcanoes will the volcanoes there, that'll melt the snow pretty quick though. It won't stay long there in Hawaii. Won't stay long there. Guru of Baseball's in the house. Look at that, Guru and Echo's here. Oh my word, that means I got to do a 2+ here. Got to get a 2+ here for Guru and Echo. Boom. Is this Saturday? Yes, it is. It's an off-the-wall Saturday for sure. All right, Don. We'll watch the rest later. Yeah, no problem. No problem, Bernie. You take care and be careful with all that snow. Don't blow it into too big of a pile to where you can't move your car around. You don't want to bury your car so it can't get in there. Alright, so let me go through real quick. We got Bernie H, we got Big Ray, we got Guru and Echo, we got Malcolm99, we got Matty Ice Cards. That was done, that was the other day. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 10 entries. That definitely puts us over 300 for 3 prizes. But there we go. So I'm going to go ahead and set this off to the side. Oh no, we're not going to set this off to the side. We got to do trivia from yesterday. I think it's a trivia. Oh yeah, it's a trivia. Whoever guesses it right first gets 5 points for today's trivia. You'll get 5 points for today's trivia, that's for sure. So let's get into our trivia, and then we'll get into our biography for Kenesaw Mountain Landis, along with the trivia times 2. So we're going to do the trivia times 2. It is a true or false. It is a true or false. So yesterday's trivia for Friday, January 12th, 2024 was Randy Jones, Dontrell Willis, Ivan Nova, and Luis Ayala. So it's entitled Managers. Boom Slang's in the house. I saw you sneak in there, Boom Slang. I gotta get you in for your entries here. 2 plus. 2 plus for Boom Slang for making it in here. Make sure you let me know if you're popping into the stream here. I will watch the rest later. Yep. Okay. So Earl Weaver is the only manager to lead a team to more than 100 wins in 3 consecutive seasons with the Orioles from 1969 through 1971. Okay, so let me get it ready here, and you guys can provide the answer. Whoever gets it the true or false correct first gets the 5 points. You know the rules, Big Ray. It's not time to guess yet. Alright. So let me read it through the second time, and then when I put it in the chat, start your trivia guessing. Managers, true or false? Earl Weaver is the only manager to lead a team to more than 100 wins in 3 consecutive seasons with the Orioles from 1969 through 1971. Start your guessing now. Whoever gets it right first gets it. Big Ray, false. Big Ray got it correct first in the live chat after I said start your trivia guessing. So Big Ray, you got a +5. You got the +5. Okay. And it is false. It is false. So let's go here and read through this really quick. It says, true or false, Earl Weaver is the only manager to lead a team to more than 100 wins in 3 consecutive seasons with the Orioles from 1969 through 1971. It is false. Connie Mack did it with the Philadelphia Athletics, leading them to 104 wins 1929, 102 wins 1930, and 107 wins in 1931. Billy Southworth piloted the Cardinals to 106 wins in 1942, 105 wins in 1943, and 105 wins in 1944. Bobby Cox's 3 with the Braves included 101 in 1997, 106 in 1998, and 103 in 1999. Joe Torre, the Yankees, won 103 in 2002, 101 in 2003, and 101 in 2004. Weaver posted 109 in 1969, 108 in 1970, and 101 in 1971 with the Orioles. A.J. Hinch did it with the Astros 3 times as well. 103 wins 2017, 103 wins in 2018 and 107 wins in 2019. Southworth's achievement remains the greatest as he did it within a 154 game season. Boom. Well, the question did read, Earl Weaver is the only manager to lead a team to more than 100 wins in 3 consecutive seasons with the Orioles from, and it's true or false. So it was false because there were other managers that did it. So there we go. Big Ray got that one right. Thanks, Maddie. Boom. So that takes care of that trivia. Now we'll move on to our second trivia for the weekend. All right, our second trivia, and it's entitled Awards. I'm watching with no sound, so wasn't getting that one. Oh, can't help you there, Maddie. You got to turn the sound on so you can listen to the trivia questions. All right, so let me get ready here, and it's entitled Awards. And there will be one answer. There will be one answer for the answer, and if you get whoever gets the correct answer first gets 5 entries into our Saturday and Sunday trivia. All right, but first we're going to do our Saturday birthdays for today. Saturday, January the 13th, is Kevin Mitchell, Odell Jones, Bob Forsch, and Billy Joe Robideau. And our Sunday birthdays for January 14th, 2024 are Smead Jolly, Sonny Siebert, Wayne Gross, and Terry Forrester. And it is awards related. And again, I'll read through the question and the answer 2 times, and then I'll put it in the chat to start your trivia guessing. Okay, so awards. Remember, there's one answer. Whoever guesses the correct answer first in the chat gets the 5 points. Awards. Which of the following Hall of Famers never won an MVP award? Is it A, Eddie Murray, B, Al Kaline, C, Dave Winfield, D, Eddie Matthews, E, Mel Ott, or F, all of them? So again, it's awards related. Which of the following Hall of Famers never won an MVP award? Was it A, Eddie Murray, B, Al Kaline, C, Dave Winfield, D, Eddie Matthews, E, Mel Ott, or F, all of them? Start your trivia guessing now. Boom! Big Ray got it right with F, all of them. All of them never won an MVP award. So F was all of them. And it says F. Matthews, Kaline, and Murray were closest, each finishing second in the voting twice. Matthews was runner-up in 1953 and 1959, and Kaline was second in 1955 and 1963. Murray was second fiddle in 1982 and 1983, so it was F. All of them never won an MVP award. So congratulations there, Big Ray. You get another 5 points. You're the leader of the pack today. So boom, there we go. Next Tuesday we'll have a baseball literature factoid for Monday, and then Tuesday we will have a trivia question for next Tuesday. And let's see, who we're going to be doing next Tuesday for our biography. It's going to be Barry Larkin. Barry Larkin's going to be our fun one to do. I'm going to have to get my Barry Larkin collection together there for that when we get there. So let's go ahead and put this aside for our 2-minute warning at the end of the stream here today. Alright, we are going to get into Kenesaw Mountain Landis's biography today for our content. What do we got? We got 6 people watching. Let me refresh the live chat here. The live chat here. Oh, there we go. Neither did Jeter, Gwen, Ozzy, Piazza, and a few more. There we go. Alright, get a live chat going on there, refreshed. I just had to be able to take my time today for Kenesaw Mountain Landis for his biography. Remember, he was the first commissioner of baseball. He was the first commissioner of baseball. Alright. So hopefully you guys are ready. We'll get through his biography here. It's going to take a while, but we'll have fun for sure. I'll keep track in the chat. We do have 6 people watching right now. See if we can get up to double digits on that thumbs up. Thumbs up. Let me do a refresh here. See if I can see how many thumbs up we've got in the chat. Sometimes it doesn't update properly for me. And then we'll get into his biography. Okay. Hopefully you guys are having a good Saturday and looking forward to this. We've got 5 thumbs up. Halfway there to 10. Alright, so Kenesaw Mountain Landis. Kenesaw Mountain Landis was born November 20th, 1866 and passed away on November 25th, 1944. He was an American jurist who served as a United States federal judge from 1905 to 1922 and the first commissioner of baseball from 1920 until his death. He is remembered for his resolution of the Black Sox scandal, in which he expelled 8 members of the Chicago White Sox from organized baseball for conspiring to lose the 1919 World Series and repeatedly refused their reinstatement requests. His iron rule over baseball in the near quarter century of his commissioning generally credited with restoring public confidence in the game. Landis was born in Millville, Ohio. Raised in Indiana, he became a lawyer and then personal secretary to Walter Q. Gresham, the new United States Secretary of State, in 1893. He returned to private practice after Gresham died in office. President Theodore Roosevelt appointed Landis to the United States District Court for the Northern District of Illinois in 1905. Landis received national attention in 1907 when he fined Standard Oil of Indiana more than $29 million, approximately $800 million in value in 2021, for violating federal laws forbidding rebates on railroad freight tariffs. While Landis's action was reversed on appeal, he was seen as a judge determined to rein in big business. During and after World War I, Landis presided over several high-profile trials of draft registers and others whom he saw as opposing the war effort. He imposed heavy sentences on those who were convicted, although some of the convictions were reversed on appeal and other sentences were commuted. In 1920, Landis was a leading candidate when American League and National League team owners, embarrassed by the Black Sox scandal and other instances of players throwing games, sought someone to rule over baseball. Landis was given full power to act in the sport's best interest and used that power extensively over the next quarter century. Landis was widely praised for cleaning up the game, although some of his decisions in the Black Sox matter remained controversial. Supporters of shoeless Joe Jackson and Buck Weaver continued that he was overly harsh. Others blamed Landis for their view delaying the racial integration of baseball. Landis was elected to the National Baseball Hall of Fame by a special vote shortly after he died in 1944. Early life and prejudicial career in 1866 to 1905, boyhood and early career. In 1866 to 1893, Kenesaw Mountain Landis was born in Millville, Ohio on November 20th, 1866, and a sixth-child fourth son of Abraham Hoke Landis, a physician, and Mary Coomer Landis. The Landises descended from Swiss Mennonites. Abraham Landis had been wounded fighting in the U.S. Army in the Battle of Kenesaw Mountain in Georgia, and when his parents provided unable to agree on a name for the new baby, Mary Landis proposed they call him Kenesaw Mountain. At the time, both spellings, Kenesaw, were used, but later Kenesaw Mountain became the accepted spelling of the battle site. Pop in the stream here and see. I haven't seen too much Panini in Fairfield, Lockin. What year? 22. Space Case cards. Yo, here comes the judge. Wow, get any good hits? Spaceman, no hits, but some cool different sets. Thanks for Christmas. For the Christmas card. Oh, you're no problem there, Space cards. Space Case cards. Say It Ain't So. 8 Men Out. Chronicles is probably my favorite Panini product with all the variety of subsets. I like Obsidian and the acetate ones. That's pretty cool. I like when you guys talk about the baseball card products. Now, I'm on the fence right now this coming year in 2024. We're gonna see. I want to see what Fanatics is gonna do with the hobby. I'm definitely waiting to see what happens with Fanatics with the hobby coming up. See how they change things. Having the rights. Is this the last year? Is it 2025 when Fanatics takes over the operation from Topps? I believe it's 2025, isn't it? Jason probably knows for sure. Top Series 1, really good rookie class. Is that for 2024? Oh, okay. So they're still going to stick with Topps in 2024. So it'll be 2025 when the big change is going to take place, huh? Is that what it is? Just kind of curious. Dun, dun, dun. Alright, Abraham Landis worked in Millville as a country physician. When Kenesaw was 8, the elder Landis moved his family to Delphi, Indiana. And subsequently, hold on a second, I forgot to. Oh, I did not do that. Good thing my shirt's real clean. Yeah. I gotta clean my eyeballs. My eyeballs are blurry. I think we might be good to go. Ooh, much better. And subsequently to Logansport, Indiana, where he purchased and ran several local farms. His war injury caused him to scale back his medical practice. 2 of Kenesaw's 4 brothers, Charles Berry Landis and Frederick Landis, became members of Congress. As As Kenny, as he was sometimes known, grew, he did an increasing share of the farm work, later stating, "I did my share, and it was a substantial share, in taking care of the 13 acres. I do not remember that I particularly liked getting up at 3 a.m. in the morning." Kenesaw began his off-farm career at age 10 as a news delivery boy. He left school at 15 after an unsuccessful attempt to master algebra. He worked at the local general store and then as an errand boy with Vandalia Railroad. Landis applied for a job as a brakeman, but he was laughingly dismissed as too small. Then he worked for the Logansport Journal and taught himself shorthand reporting, becoming in 1883 an official court reporter for the Cass County Circuit Court. Landis later wrote, "I may not have been much of a judge nor baseball official, but I do pride myself on having been a real shorthand reporter." He served in that capacity until 1886. In his spare time, he became a prize-winning bicycle racer and played on and managed a baseball team. Offered a professional contract as a ball player, he turned it down, stating that he preferred to play for the love of the game. In 1886, Landis first ventured into Republican Party politics, reporting a friend, Charles F. Griffin, for Indiana Secretary of State. Griffin won, and Landis was rewarded with a civil service job in the Indiana Department of State. While employed there, he applied to be an attorney. At that time in Indiana, an applicant needed only prove that he was 21 and of good moral character, and Landis was admitted. Landis opened a practice in Marion, Indiana, but attracted few clients in his years of work there. Realizing that an uneducated lawyer was unlikely to build a lucrative practice, Landis enrolled in Cincinnati's YMCA Law School, now part of Northern Kentucky University. In 1889, Landis transferred to Union Law School, part of Northwestern University, the following year. And in 1891, he took his law degree from Union and was admitted to the Illinois bar. He began a practice in Chicago, served as an assistant instructor at Union with fellow attorney Clarence Darrow, helped found the nonpartisan Chicago Civic Center Club devoted to municipal reform. Landis practiced with college friend Frank O. Loden. The future commissioner and his law partner went into debt to impress potential clients, but a law library secondhand. Washington, years and aftermath in 1893 to 1905. In March of 1893, President Grover Cleveland appointed federal judge Walter Q. Gresham as his Secretary of State, and Gresham hired Landis as his personal secretary. Gresham had a long career as a political appointee in the latter part of the 19th century. Though he lost his only 2 bids for elective office, he served in 3 cabinet positions and was twice a dark horse candidate for the Republican presidential nomination. Although Gresham was a Republican, he had supported Cleveland, a Democrat, in the 1892 election because of his intense dislike for the Republican nominee, President Benjamin Harrison. Kenesaw Landis had appeared before Judge Gresham in court. According to Landis' biography, J.G. Taylor Spink, Gresham thought Landis had something on the ball and believed that Landis' shorthand skills would be of use. In Washington, Landis worked hard to protect Gresham's interests in the State Department, making friends with many members of the press. He was less popular among many of the department's senior career officials, who saw him as brash. When word leaked concerning President Cleveland's Hawaiian policy, the president was convinced Landis was the source of the information and demanded his dismissal. Gresham defended Landis, stating that Cleveland would have to fire both of them, and the president relented after finding out that he was mistaken in accusing Landis. President Cleveland grew to like Landis, and when Gresham died in 1895, offered Landis the post of the United States ambassador to Venezuela. Landis declined the diplomatic post, preferring to return to Chicago to begin a law practice, and to marry Wilfred Reed, daughter of Ottawa, Illinois postmaster. The two married on July 25, 1895, and they had two surviving children, a boy, Reed, and a girl, Susanna. A third child, Winifred, died almost immediately after being born. Landis built a corporate law practice in Chicago. With the practice doing well, he deeply involved himself in the Republican Party politics. He built a close association with his friend Loudoun and served as a campaign manager for the governor of Illinois. In 1904, Loudoun was defeated, but would later serve 2 terms in the office and be a major contender in the 1920 Republican presidential nomination. A seat on the United States District Court for the Northern District of Illinois was vacant. President Theodore Roosevelt offered it to Loudoun, who declined it and recommended Landis. Other recommendations from Illinois politicians followed, and Roosevelt nominated Landis for the seat. According to Spink, President Roosevelt wanted a tough judge and a man sympathetic with his viewpoint in that important court. Loudoun and Landis were, like Roosevelt, on the progressive left on the Republican Party. On March 18, 1905, Roosevelt transmitted the nomination of the Senate, which confirmed Landis the same afternoon without any committee hearing. He received his commission the same day. Then he served as judge from 1905 to 1922. Landis's courtroom, room 627 in the Chicago's Federal Building, was ornate and featured in 2 murals, one of King John conceding the Magna Carta, and the other Moses about to smash the tablets of the 10 Commandments. The mahogany and marble chamber was, according to Landis' biography, David Pertuska, just the spot for Landis's sense of the theatrical. In it, he would hold court for nearly the next decade and a half. According to Spink, it wasn't long before Chicago writers discovered they had a character on the bench. A. L. Sloan of the Chicago Herald American, a friend of Landis, recalled, "The judge was always headline news. He was a great showman, theatrical on appearance, with his sharp law and shock of white hair. And people always crowded into his courtroom, knowing there would be something going on. There was few dull moments." If Judge Landis was suspicious of an attorney's line of questioning, he would wrinkle his nose and once told a witness, "Now let's stop fooling around and tell exactly what did happen, without reciting your life's history." When the elderly defendant told him that he would not be able to live a complete 5-year sentence, Landis scowled at him and asked, "Well, you can try, can't you?" When a young man stood before him for sentencing after admitting to steal jewels from a parcel, the defendant's wife stood near him, infant daughter in her arms, and Landis mused what to do about the situation. After a dramatic pause, Landis ordered the young man to take his wife and daughter and go home with them, expressing his unwillingness to have the girl be the daughter of a convict. According to sports writer Ed Fitzgerald in Sport magazine, women went unashamed, and the entire courtroom burst into spontaneous, prolonged applause. Landis had been a lawyer with a corporate practice upon his elevation to the bench. Corporate litigants expected him to favor them. According to a 1907 magazine article about Landis, corporations smiled pleasantly at the thought of a corporation lawyer being on the bench. They smile no more. In an early case, Landis fined the Alice Chalmers Manufacturing Company the maximum of $4,000 for illegally importing workers, even though his wife's brother-in-law served in the corporate board. In another decision, Landis struck down a challenge to the Interstate Commerce Commission's ICC jurisdiction over rebating, a practice banned by Elkins Act of 1903, in which railroads and favored customers agreed that customers would pay less than the posted tariff, which by law is to be the same for all shippers. Landis's decision allowed the ICC to take action against railroads which gave rebates. Let me take a brief intermission here real quick. Delphi, Indiana. Pronounced Delphi. When's Series 1 coming out in 2024? Does anybody have a date on that one? Just curious. Alright. Standard Oil from 1905 to 1909. Alright. By the first decade of the 20th century, a number of business entities had formed trusts which dominated their industries. Trusts often sought to purchase or otherwise neutralize their competitors, allowing the conglomerates to raise prices to high levels. In 1890, Congress had passed the Sherman Antitrust Act, but it was not until the Theodore Roosevelt administration in 1901 to 1909 that serious efforts were made to break up or control the trusts. The dominant force of the oil industry, Standard Oil, controlled by John D. Rockefeller, modern-day ExxonMobil, Atlantic Richfield, Chevron, Sohai, Amoco, and Continental Oil all trace their ancestry to various parts of Standard Oil. In March of 1906, the Commissioner of Corporations, James Rudolph Garland, submitted a report to President Roosevelt, alleging large-scale rebating in Standard Oil shipments. Federal prosecutors in several states and territories sought indictments against components of the Standard Oil Trust. On June 28, 1906, Standard Oil of Indiana was indicted on 6,428 counts of violation of the Elkins Act for accepting rebates on shipments on the Chicago and Alton Railroad. The case was assigned to Landis. Trial on the 1,903 counts that survived pretrial motions began on March 4, 1907. The fact that rebates had been given was not contested. That was at issue was whether Standard Oil knew the railroad's posted rates, and if it had a duty to inquire if it did not. Landis charged the jury that it was the duty of the defendant diligently, in good faith, to get from Chicago and Alton the lawful rate. The jury found Standard Oil guilty on all 1,903 counts. The maximum fine that Landis could impose was $29,240,000 to aid the judge in determining the sentence. Landis issued a subpoena for Rockefeller to testify as to Standard Oil's assets. The tycoon had often evaded subpoenas, not having testified in court since 1888. Deputy United States Marshals visited Rockefeller's several homes, as well as the estates of the friends, in hope of finding him. After several days, Rockefeller was found at his lawyer's estate in northwestern Massachusetts and was served with the subpoena. The tycoon duly came to Landis's Chicago courtroom, making a way for the mob anxious to see the proceedings. Rockefeller's actual testimony, proffered after the judge made him wait several cases and witnesses, proved to be anticlimactic, as he professed almost no knowledge of Standard Oil's corporate structure or assets. On August the 3rd, 1907, Landis pronounced sentence. He fined Standard Oil the maximum penalty of $29 million, $240,000, the largest fine imposed on a corporation to that date. The corporation quickly appealed. In the meantime, Landis was ionized as a hero, according to Petrugia. Much of the nation could hardly believe a federal judge had finally cracked down on a trust, and cracked down hard. President Roosevelt, then he heard the sentence, reportedly stated, "That's bully." Rockefeller playing golf in Cleveland when he was brought a telegram containing the news, Rockefeller calmly informed his golfing partners of the amount, and proceeded to shoot a personal record score, later stating, "Judge Landis will be dead a long time before this fine is paid." He proved correct. The verdict and sentence were reversed by the United States Court of Appeals for the Seventh Circuit on July 22, 1908. In January 1909, the Supreme Court refused to hear the case, and in a new trial before another judge, Landis rescued himself. Standard Oil was acquitted. As far as Federal League and Baby Irene cases in 1909 to 1917. A lifelong baseball fan, Landis often slipped away from the courthouse for a White Sox or Cubs game. In 1914, the two existing major leagues were challenged by a new league, the Federal League. In 1915, the upstart league brought full suit against the existing leagues and owners under the Sherman Act, and the case was assigned to Landis. Baseball owners feared that the reserve clause, for which players forced players to sign new contracts with only their former team, and the 10-day clause, which allowed teams, but not the players, to terminate player contracts on 10 days' notice, would be struck down by Landis. Landis held hearings in late January 1915, and newspapers expected a quick decision, certainly before the spring training began in March. During the hearings, Landis admonished the parties. Both sides must understand that any blows at the thing called baseball would be regarded by this court as a blow to a national institution. When the National League's chief counsel, future Senator George Wharton Pepper, referred to the activities of baseball players on the field as labor, Landis interrupted him. As a result of 30 years of observation, I am shocked because you call playing baseball labor. Landis reserved judgment, and the parties waited for his ruling. Spring training passed, as did the entire regular season and the World Series in December of 1915. Still, with no word from Landis, the parties reached a settlement and the Federal League disbanded. Landis made no public statement as to the reasons for his failure to rule, though he told close friends that he had been certain the parties would reach a settlement sooner or later. Most observers thought that Landis waited because he did not want to rule against the two established leagues and their contracts. In 1916, Landis presided over the Ryan Baby, or Baby Irene, case. The recent widow of a prominent Chicago banker, Anna Dolly Ledgerwood Matters, had brought a baby girl home from a visit to Canada and claimed that the child was her late husband's posthumous heir. Matters had left an estate of $250,000. However, the shop girl from Ontario, Margaret Ryan, claimed the baby was hers and brought a writ of habeas corpus to Landis court. Ryan stated that she had given birth to the girl in an Ottawa hospital, but had been told her baby had died. In the era before blood and DNA testing, Landis relied on witness testimony and awarded the child to Ryan. The case brought comparisons between Landis and King Solomon, who had judged a similar case. Landis was reversed by the Supreme Court, which held he had no jurisdiction in the matter. A Canadian court later awarded the child to Ryan. Although Landis was an autocrat in the courtroom, he was less so at home. In a 1916 interview, he stated, "Every member of his family does exactly what he or she wants to do. Each one is his or her Supreme Court. Everything for the common good of the family is decided according to the wishes of the whole family. Each one knows what is right, and each one can do whatever he thinks is best. It is purely democratic." As far as wartime cases, in 1917 to 1919. In early 1917, Landis considered leaving the bench and returning to private practice. Though he greatly enjoyed being a judge, the salary of $7,500 was considerably lower than what he could make as an attorney. The entry of the United States into World War I in April ended Landis's determination to resign. A firm supporter of the war effort, he felt he could best serve the country by remaining on the bench. Despite his decision and his age, 50, Landis wrote to the Secretary of War, Lieutenant D. Baker, asking him to take him to the service and send him to France, where the war was raging. Baker urged Landis to make speeches in support of the war, instead of which he did. The judge's son, Reed, had already served briefly in the Illinois National Guard. During the war, he became a pilot and eventually an ace. Okay. Landis's disdain for draft dodgers and other opponents of the war was equivalent in July of 1917, when he presided over the trials of some 120 men, mostly foreign-born socialists, who had resisted the draft and rioted in Rockford, Illinois. According to Petrugia, Landis was frequently brutal in his remarks to the defendants, interrogating them on their beliefs and actions. Landis tried the case in Rockford and found all guilty, sentencing all but 3 to a year and a day in jail, the maximum sentence. The prisoners were ordered to register for the draft after serving their sentences, except 37, whom he ordered deported. On September 5, 1917, federal officers raided the national headquarters in Chicago of the Industrial Workers of the World, the IWW, sometimes Wobblies, as well as 48 of the union's halls across the nation. The Union had opposed the war and urged members and others to refuse consecration into the armed forces. On September 28th, 166 IWW leaders, including the Union head Big Bill Hayward, were indicted in the Northern District of Illinois. For their cases were assigned to Landis. Some 40 of the indicted men could not be found. A few others had charges dismissed against them. Ultimately, Landis presided over a trial against 113 defendants, the largest federal criminal trial to that point. The trial began on April 1st, 1918, and Landis quickly dismissed charges against a dozen defendants. Jury selection occupied a month. Journalist John Reed attended the trial and wrote of his impressions of Landis. Small on the huge bench sits a wasted man with untidy white hair, an emaciated face which two burning eyes are set like jewels, parchment-like, skin split by a crack for a mouth, the face of Andrew Jackson, 3 years dead. Upon this man was devolved the historic role of trying the social revolution. He is doing it like a gentleman. In many ways, a most unusual trial. When the judge enters the courtroom after recess, no one rises. He himself has abolished the posthumous formality. He sits without robes, in an ordinary business suit, and often leaves the bench to come down and perch on the step of the jury box. By his personal orders, spittoons are placed by the prisoners' seats, and as for the prisoners themselves, they are permitted to take off their coats, move around, read newspapers. It takes some human understanding for a judge to fly in the face of judicial ritual as much as that. HOF Biography Melvin Dubofsky wrote that Landis exercised judicious objectivity and restraint for 5 long months. Baseball historian Harold Seymour stated, on the whole, Landis conducted the trial with restraint, despite his reputation as a foe of all radical groups. Landis dismissed charges against the elderly defendant, who was in obvious pain as he testified, and allowed the release of a number of prisoners on ball or on their recognizances. Definitely put a brown stain on his reputation. Okay, Series 1 pre-orders go live on Topps on the 16th. Thanks, Jason. Appreciate that. Just hoping Stadium Club doesn't get postponed again. Oh, that's right, for the 2023 Stadium Club, right? So they still are going to produce a 2023. That's cool. So on August 17th, following the closing argument for the prosecution, defendants waived argument. Landis instructed the jury. The lead defense counsel objected to the wording of the jury charge several times, but Hayward believed it to have been fair. After 65 minutes, the jury returned with guilty verdicts for all the remaining accused. Much to their shock, they had believed that Landis's charge pointed towards the acquittal. When the defendants returned to the court on August the 29th, Landis listened with patience to the defendants' final pleas. For the sentencing, according to Richard Cahan in his History of Chicago's District Court, mild-mannered Landis returned a changed man. Although 2 defendants received only 10 days in jail, all others received at least a year and a day, and Hayward and 14 others receiving 20 years. A number of defendants, including Hayward, obtained bail during the appeal, even before Hayward's appeals were exhausted. He jumped the ball and took ship for the Soviet Union. The labor leader hung a portrait of Landis in his Moscow apartment, and when Hayward died in 1928, he was interred near John Reed, who had died of illness in Moscow after the Bolshevik Revolution. In the Kremlin wall, they remain the only Americans so honored. President Calvin Coolidge commuted the sentences of the remaining incarcerated defendants in 1923. Much to the disgust of Landis, who issued an angry statement after leaving his judgeship, Landis referred to the defendants in the Hayward case as scum, filth, and slimy rats. Landis hoped that Kaiser Wilhelm II would be captured and tried in his court. He wanted to indict the Kaiser for the murder of a Chicagoan who lost his life on the RMS Lusitania. In 1915, the State Department notified Landis that extradition treaties did not permit the rendition of the Kaiser, who fled into exile in the Netherlands as the war concluded. Nevertheless, in a speech, Landis demanded that Kaiser Wilhelm, his 6 sons, and 5,000 German military leaders be lined up against a wall and shot down in justice to the world and to Germany. Excuse me. Even the armistice in November of 1918, the war-related trials continued the Socialist Party of America. Like the IWW, had opposed the war and had also been raided by federal authorities. 7 Socialist Party leaders, including Victor Berger, who was elected to Congress in November of 1918, were indicted for alleged anti-war activities. The defendants were charged under the Espionage Act of 1917, which made it illegal to utter, print, write, or publish any disloyal, profane, scurrilous, or abusive language about the armed forces, the flag, the Constitution, or democracy. The defendants, who were mostly German birth or descent, moved for a change of venue away from Landis's courtroom, alleging that Landis had stated on November 1st, 1918, that if anybody has said anything about the Germans that is worse than I have said, I would like to hear it so I could use it myself. Landis, however, examined the transcript of the trial which the statement was supposedly made, failed to find it, declared the affidavit in support of the modern perjurious, and denied the motion. While the jury was being selected, Berger was indicted on additional espionage charges for supposedly violating the law under an earlier unsuccessful political campaign. At the conclusion of the case, Landis took an hour to dramatically charge the jury, emphasizing the secretive nature of conspiracies, and point the jury box, as he noted, the country was then at war. At one point, Landis leapt out of his seat, twirled his chair around, and then sat on its arm. Later, in his charge, he lay prone upon the bench. The jury took less than a day to convict Congressman-elect Berger and his 4 remaining co-defendants. Landis sentenced each defendant to 20 years in federal prison. Landis denied the defendants bail pending appeal, but quickly obtained it from the appellate court judge. The 7th Circuit Court of Appeals declined to rule on the case itself, sending it on to the Supreme Court, which on January 31st, 1921, overturned the convictions and sentences by a 6-3 vote, holding that Landis should have stepped aside once he was satisfied that the affidavit was legally sufficient, leaving it for another judge to decide whether it was actually true. Landis refused to comment on the Supreme Court decision, which ordered a new trial in 1922. The charges against the defendants were dropped by the government. Building Trades Award Controversy and Resignation in 1920 through 1922. The post-war period saw considerable deflation. The shortage of labor and materials during the war led to a much higher wages and prices. And in the post-war economic readjustment, wages were cut heavily. In Chicago, employers in the building trades attempted a 20% wage cut, When this was rejected by the unions, a lockout followed. Both sides agreed to submit the matter to a neutral arbitrator and settled on Landis, who agreed to take the case in June 1921. By this time, Landis was commissioner of baseball and still a federal judge. In September, Landis issued his report, cutting wages by an average of 12.5% to improve productivity. He also struck restrictions on machinery, which saved labor, established a standardized overtime rate, and resolved jurisdictional conflicts between unions. The labor organizations were not completely satisfied, but Landis' reforms were adopted in many places across the country and were credited with reviving the building industry. Criticism of Landis, having both judicial and baseball positions, began almost as soon as the baseball appointment was announced in November of 1920. On February the 2nd, 1921, lame duck Congressman Benjamin F. Welty, a Democrat from Ohio, offered a resolution calling for Landis's impeachment. On February 11th, Attorney General A. Mitchell Palmer opined that there was no legal impediment to Landis's holding both jobs. On February 14th, the House Judiciary Committee voted 24-1 to investigate Landis. Reed Landis later stated none of the other congressmen wanted father impeached, but they did want him to come down and defend himself because they knew what a show it would be. Although Welty's departure from office in March 4th, 1921, began a full criticism of Landis. In April, the judge made a controversial decision in the case of Francis J. Carey, a 19-year-old bank teller, who had pleaded guilty to embezzling $96,500. Carey, the sole support of his widowed mother and unmarried sister, gained Landis's sympathy. He accused the bank of underpaying Carey and sent the youth home with his mother. Two members of the Senate objected to Landis's action, and the New York Post compared Carey with Les Miserables' Jean Valjean, noting, between a loaf of bread, Valjean was incarcerated for stealing one, and $96,500, there is a difference. A bill barring outside employment by the federal judges had been introduced by Landis's foes, but had expired with the end of the congressional session in March. His opponents tried again in July, and the bill failed in the Senate on a tie vote. On September the 1st, 1921, the American Bar Association, a trade group of lawyers, passed a resolution of censure against Landis. By the end of 1921, the controversy was dying down, and Landis felt that he could resign without looking pressured. On February the 18th, 1922, he announced his resignation as judge, effective March 1st, stating that there are not enough hours in the day for all these activities. In his final case, he fined 2 theater owners for evading the federal amusement tax. One owner had refused to make restitution before sentencing, and he was fined $5,000. The owner who had tried to make his shortfall good was fined 1 cent. We take a quick drink of water here and continue on here in a minute. We got 7 people watching. 5 thumbs up. Thummies up, thummies up, thummies up for me. So now we're moving on to, finally, for Kenesaw Mountain Landis, when he became baseball commissioner in 1920 through 1944. Alright, again, his appointment during this time By 1919, the influence of gamblers on baseball had been a problem for several years. Historian Paul Gardner wrote, "Baseball had for some time been living uneasy in the knowledge that bribes were being offered by gamblers, and that some players were accepting them. The players knew it was going on, and the owners knew it was going on. But more important, the players knew that the owners knew, and they knew the owners were doing nothing about it for fear of scandal, that it might damage organized baseball. Under such conditions, it quite obviously did not pay to be honest." In the 1919 World Series between the Chicago White Sox and the Cincinnati Reds was much anticipated as the nation attempted to return to normalcy. In the post-war period, baseball had seen a surge of popularity during the 1919 season, which set several attendance records. The powerful White Sox, with their superstar batter Shoeless Joe Jackson and star pitchers Eddie Cicotte and Claude Lefty Williams, were believed likely to defeat the less well-regarded Reds. To the surprise of many, the Reds defeated the White Sox 5-3 during 1919 and 1921. The World Series was a best-of-9 affair in those days. Rumors that the series was fixed began to circulate after gambling odds against the Reds winning dropped sharply before the series began, and gained more credibility after the White Sox lost 4 of the first 5 games. Cincinnati lost the next 2 games, and speculation began that the Reds were losing on purpose to extend the series and increase gate revenues. However, Cincinnati won Game 8 10-5 to end the series. As Williams lost his 3rd game, Cicotte lost another 2. After the series, according to the Gene Carney, who wrote the book about the scandal, there was more than the usual complaining from those who had bet big on the Sox and lost. The issue of the 1919 series came to the public eye again in September 1920, when, after allegations that the game between the Chicago Cubs and the Philadelphia Phillies on August 31st had been fixed, a grand jury was impaneled in a state court in Chicago to investigate baseball's gambling. Additional news came from Philadelphia, where gambler Billy Mayarg stated that he had worked with former boxer Abe Attell and New York gambler Arnold Rothstein to get the White Sox to throw the 1919 series. Cicotte and Jackson were called before the grand jury, where they gave statements incriminating themselves and 6 teammates. Williams' first baseman Chick Gandhi, shortstop Swede Reisenberg, and third baseman Buck Weaver, center fielder Happy Felsch, and reserve infielder Fred McMillan. Williams and Fresh were also called before the grand jury and incriminated themselves and their teammates. Through late September in 1920, the American League season had been one of the most exciting on record, with the White Sox, Cleveland Indians, and the New York Yankees dueling for league lead. By September 28th, the Yankees were close to elimination, but the White Sox and Indians were within percentage points of each other. On that day, however, the 8 players, 7 to whom were still on the White Sox, were indicted. They were immediately suspended by the White Sox owner Charles Comiskey. The Indians were able to pull ahead and win the pennant, taking the American League Championship by 2 games over Chicago. And then their search for a commissioner. Baseball had been governed by a 3-man national commission consisting of the American League president, Van Johnson, the National League president John Heidler, and the Cincinnati Reds owner Gary Herman. In January 1920, Herman left office at the request of the other club owners, leaving the commission effectively deadlocked between Johnson and Heidler. A number of club owners disliked one or both league presidents, preferred a single commissioner to rule over the game, but were willing to see the National Commission continue if Herman was replaced by someone who would provide strong leadership. Landis's name was mentioned in the press for his role, and the influential baseball newspaper, The Sporting News, sought his appointment. Another proposal, known as the Lasker Plan, after Albert Lasker, a shareholder in the Chicago Cubs, had proposed, it was for a three-man commission to govern the game, drawn from outside baseball. On September 30th, 1920, with the Black Sox scandal exposed, National League President Heidler began to advocate for the Lasker Plan, and by the following day, the four major league teams supported him. Among the names discussed in the press membership in the new commission were Landis, former Secretary of Treasury William Gibbs McAdoo, and former President William Howard Taft, and General John J. Pershing. The start of the 1920 World Series on October 5th distracted the public from baseball's woes for a time, but discussions continued behind the scenes. By mid-October, 11 of the 16-team owners, all 8 from the National League, and the owners of the American League, Yankees, White Sox, and Boston Red Sox, were demanded the end of the National Commission and the appointment of a three-man commission whose members would have no financial interest in baseball. Heidler stated the views on baseball's requirements. We want a man as a chairman who will rule with an iron hand. Baseball has lacked a hand like that for years. It needs it now worse than ever. Therefore, it is our object to appoint a big man to lead the new commission. On November 8th, the owners of the 8 National League and 3 American League teams, which supported the Lasker Plan, met unanimously, selected Landis as the head of the proposed commission. The American League clubs that supported the plan threatened to move the National League away from Johnson, who opposed it. Johnson hoped that the major leagues would support his position. When they did not, he and the loyal 5 teams agreed to the Lasker Plan. In the discussions among the owners that followed, they decided that Landis would be the only commissioner. No associate members would be elected. On November 12th, the team owners came to Landis's courtroom to approach him, and Landis was trying a bribery case. When he heard noise in the back of the courtroom from the owners, he gavelled them to silence. He made them wait 45 minutes while he completed his docket, then met with them in his chambers. The judge heard the owners. After expressing initial reluctance, he took the job for 7 years at a salary of $50,000 on condition he would remain on the federal bench. During Landis's time serving as both judge and commissioner, he allowed a $7,500 reduction in his commissioner's salary to reflect his pay as judge. The appointment of Landis was met with acclaim in the press. A tentative agreement was signed by the parties a month later, an agreement which itemized Landis's power over baseball and which was drafted by the judge. The owners were still reeling from the perception that baseball was crooked, and accepted the agreement virtually without dissent. Under the terms of the contract, Landis could not be dismissed by the team owners, have his pay reduced, or even be criticized by them in public. He had nearly unlimited authority over every person employed in the courts to contest Landis's will. Humorist Will Rogers stated, "Don't kid yourself. That old judicial bird isn't going to make those baseball birds walk the chalk line." Player and manager Leo DeRocher later stated, "The legend has been spread that the owners hired the judge off the federal bench. Don't you believe it? They got him right out of Dickens." Establishing control and banning the Black Sox. On January the 30th, 1921, Landis, speaking at the Illinois church, warned, "Now that I am in baseball, just watch the game I play. If I catch any crook in baseball, the rest of his life is going to be a pretty hot one. I'll go to any means and to anything possible to see that he gets a real penalty for his offense." The criminal case against the Black Sox defendants suffered unexpected setbacks, with evidence vanishing, including some of the incriminating statements that made the grand jury. The prosecution was forced to dismiss the original indictments and bring new charges against the 7 ball players. McMullen was not charged again. Frustrated by the delays, Landis placed all 8 on an ineligible list, banning them from major and minor league baseball. Comiskey supported Landis by giving the 7 who remained under contract to the White Sox their unconditional release. Public sentiment was heavily against the ball players, and when Jackson, Williams, Felsch, and Weaver played in a semi-pro game, the Sporting News mocked the 3,000 attendees, just like nuts go to see a murderer. The criminal trial of the Black Sox indictees began in early July 1921, despite what Robert C. Cottrell, in his book on the scandal, terms the mysterious loss of evidence. The prosecution was determined to pursue the case, demanding the 5-year prison term for the ball players for defrauding the public by throwing the series. On October 2nd, 1921, the jury returned not guilty verdicts against all defendants, leading to happy pandemonium in the courtroom. Joined by the courtroom bailiffs, with even the trial judge, Hugo Friend, looking visibly pleased, the players and the jury retired to an Italian restaurant and partied well into the night. The jubilation proved short-lived. On August 3rd, Landis issued a statement. Regardless of the verdict of juries, no player that throws a ball game, no player that undertakes or promises to throw a ball game, no player that sits in a conference with a bunch of crooked players and gamblers where the ways meant of throwing ball games are planned and discussed and does not promptly tell his club about it will ever play professional baseball. Of course, I don't know that any of these men will apply for reinstatement, but if they do, the above are at least a few of the rules that will be enforced. Just keep in mind, regardless of the verdict of juries, baseball is competent to protect itself against crooks both inside and outside the game. According to ESPN columnist Rob Nair, with a single decision, Landis might have done more for the sport than anyone else ever. Certainly Landis never did anything more important, according to Carney. The public amputation of the 8 Sox has was seen as the only acceptable cure. Over the years of Landis's commissionership, a number of the players applied for reinstatement to the game, notably Jackson and Weaver. Jackson, raised in rural South Carolina and with limited education, was said to have been drawn unwillingly into the conspiracy, while Weaver, though admitting his presence at the meeting, stating that he took no money. Both men stated that their play on the field and their battling percentages during the series, 375 for Jackson and 324 for Weaver, indicated that they did not help to throw the series. None was ever reinstated, with Landis telling a group of Weaver supporters that his presence at the meetings with the gamblers was sufficient to bar him. Even today, long after the deaths of all three men, efforts are periodically made to reinstate Jackson, which would make him eligible for election to the National Baseball Hall of Fame, and Weaver deemed by some, the least culpable of the eight. In the 1990s, a petition drive to reinstate Jackson drew 60,000 signatures. He has been treated sympathetically in movies such as 8 Men Out and Field of Dreams, and Hall of Famers Ted Williams and Bob Feller expressed their support for Jackson's induction into the Hall. Landis's expulsion of the 8 men remains in force. Cracking down on gambling. Landis felt that the Black Sox scandal had been initiated by people involved in horse racing, and stated that, by God, as long as I have anything to do with this game, they'll never get another hold on it. In 1921, his first season as commissioner, New York Giants owner Charles Stoneham and manager John McGraw purchased Oriental Park Racetrack in Havana, Cuba. Landis gave Stoneham and McGraw an ultimatum. They could not be involved in both baseball and horse racing. They quickly put the track back on the market. Even before the Black Sox scandal had been resolved, Landis acted to clean up other gambling cases. Eugene Paulette, a first baseman for the Philadelphia Phillies, had been with the St. Louis Cardinals in 1919 and had met with gamblers. It is uncertain if any games were fixed, but Paulette had written a letter among the 2 other Cardinals who might be open to throwing games. The letter had fallen into the hands of Phillies president William F. Baker, who had taken no action until Landis's appointment and then turned the letter over to him. Paulette met with Landis once, denying any wrongdoing, and then refused further meetings. Landis placed him on the ineligible list on March of 1921. In November of 1921, Landis banned former St. Louis Browns player Joe Gideon, who had been released by the Browns after admitting to sitting in on meetings with gamblers who were trying to raise the money to bribe the Black Sox. When a minor league official asked if he was eligible, Landis settled the matter by placing Gideon on the ineligible list. 2 other player gambling affairs marked Landis's early years as commissioner. In 1922, Giants pitcher Phil Douglas, embittered at McGraw for disciplining him for heavy drinking, wrote a letter to the Cardinals outfielder Leslie Mann suggesting that he would take a bribe to ensure the Giants did not win the pennant. Although Mann had been a friend, the outfielder neither smoked nor drank and had long been associated with the YMCA movement, according to baseball historian Lee Allen. Douglas might as well have sent a letter to Landis himself. Mann immediately turned over the letter to his manager Branch Rickey, who ordered Mann to contact Landis at once. The Giants placed Douglas on the ineligible list, an action backed by Landis after meeting with the pitcher. On September 27, 1924, Giants outfielder Jimmy O'Connell offered Phillies shortstop Heine Sand $500 if Sand didn't bear down too hard against us today. Sand was initially inclined to let the matter pass, but recalling the fate of Weaver and other Black Sox players, told his manager, Art Fletcher. Fletcher met with Hyder, who contacted Landis. O'Connell did not deny the bribe attempt and was placed on the ineligible list. In total, Landis banned 18 players from the game. Landis' biography, Petrugia, details the effects of Landis' stand against gambling. Before 1920, if one player approached another player to throw a contest, there was a very good chance he would not be informed upon. Now, there was an excellent chance he would be turned in. No honest player wanted to meet the same fate as Buck Weaver, without the forbidding example of Buck Weaver to haunt them. It is unlikely Mann and Sand would have snitched on their fellow players after Landis's unforgiving treatment of the popular and basically honest Weaver. They dared not to, and once prospectively crooked players knew that honest players would no longer shield them, the scandals stopped. Ruth Musial, barnstorming incident. At the time of Landis's appointment as commissioner, it was common for professional baseball players to supplement their pay by participating in postseason barnstorming tours, playing on teams which would visit smaller cities and towns to play games for which admission would be charged since 1911. However, players on the two World Series teams had been barred from barnstorming. The rule had been leniently enforced. In 1916, several members of the champion Red Sox, including pitcher George Herman, Babe Ruth, had barnstormed and had been fined a token $100 each by the National Commission. Ruth, who after 1919 season had been sold to the Yankees and who by then had mostly abandoned his pitching role for the outfield, was the focus of considerable fan interest as he broke batting records in 1920 and 1921, some by huge margins. Ruth's major league record, 29 home runs with the Red Sox in 1919, fell to his own efforts in 1920. When he hit 54, he then proceeded to hit 59 in 1921, leading the Yankees to their first pennant. 8 major league teams failed to hit as many home runs in 1921 as Ruth hit by himself. The Yankees lost the 1921 World Series to the Giants, and Ruth was injured and missed several games. After the series, the outfielder proposed to capitalize on fan interest by leading a team of barnstormers, including Yankee teammates Bob Musial, in violation of the rule, according to Contrell. All right, let me take a little bit of a break here and pop in the chat. Does it say how much regular hobby box series will be listed on Steel City or David Adams? Either. Cardboard Connection says cheapest on eBay is $185. It's starting to get the prices to go up really high, huh? Donald Echo is 20 hours of her 4,000 needed to monetize. Oh, there we go, 20 hours. Oh, she'll get 20 hours. You probably have enough people out there that can watch your playlists. Won't take long to get 20 hours of watch hours. Away. The new TV show should help, Webster. I hope. There we go. Let me refresh the chat here. And then we will continue on here. I think we got a little ways to go still, but this is an interesting Biography for sure. So the two men clashed who helped the national pastime overcome the black scandal, one through his seemingly iron will and other thanks to his magical bat. Judge Kenesaw Mountain Landis and Babe Ruth battled over the right of a ball player from a pennant-winning squad to barnstorm in the off-season. Also involved was the commissioner's continued determination to display, as he had through his banishment of the Black Sox. And he had established the boundaries for organized baseball. These boundaries Landis intended to demonstrate applied even to the sport's most popular and greatest star, significant to only Babe Ruth now contended with Commissioner Landis for the title of baseball's most important figure. Ruth had asked Yankees general manager Ed Barrow for permission to barnstorm. Barrow had no objection, but warned Ruth he must obtain Landis's consent. Landis' biography, Spink, who was at the time the editor of the Sporting News, stated, "I can say that Ruth knew exactly what he was doing when he defied Landis in October of 1921. He was willing to back his own popularity and well-known drawing power against the judge." Ruth, to the commissioner's irritation, did not contact Landis until October 15th, one day before the first exhibition. When the two spoke by telephone, Landis ordered Ruth to attend a meeting with him. Ruth refused, stating that he had to leave for Buffalo for the first game. Landis angrily refused consent for Ruth to barnstorm, and after slamming down the receiver, is recorded as saying, "Who the hell does that big ape think he is? That blankety blank. If he goes on that trip, it will be one of the sorriest things he has ever done." By one account, Yankees owner Colonel Thingest Houston attempted to dissuade Ruth as he departed, only to be told by the ballplayer, "Oh, tell the old guy to go jump in the lake." The tour also featured fellow Yankees Bob Musial and Bill Percy, who had been called up late in the season, was ineligible for the World Series, as well as Tom Sheehan, who had been sent to the minor leagues before the end of the season. Two other Yankees, Carl Mays and Wally Shang, had been scheduled to join the tour, but given Landis's position, according to Spink, wisely decided to pass it up. Spink describes the tour as a fiasco. On Landis's orders, it was barred from all major and minor league ballparks. In addition, it was plagued by poor weather and was called off in late October. In early December, Landis suspended Ruth, Percy, and Musial until May 20th, 1922. Yankee management was relieved. They had feared Landis would suspend Ruth for the season, or even longer. Both the Yankees and Ruth repeatedly asked Landis for the player's early reinstatement, which was refused, and when Landis visited the Yankees during spring training in New Orleans, he lectured Ruth for 2 hours on obeying authority. "He sure can talk," noted Ruth. When Ruth returned on May 20th, he batted 0 for 4 and was booed by the crowd at the Polo Grounds, according to Petruccia. Always a politician, there was one boss Landis did fear: public opinion. He had no guarantee at the start of the Ruth controversy that the public and the press would back him as he assumed unprecedented powers over baseball. Now he knew they would. Policies as commissioner, major minor league relations developed of the farm system. The start of the Landis commissionership, the minor league teams were for the most part autonomous of the major leagues. In fact, the minor leagues independently who accept Landis's rule. To ensure players did not become mired in the minor leagues without a chance to earn their way out, major league teams were able to draft players who played 2 consecutive years with the same minor league team. Several minor leagues were not subject to the draft. Landis fought for the inclusion of these leagues. Feeling that the non-draft leaguers could prevent players from advancing as they became more skilled. By 1924, he had succeeded as the International League. The final holdout accepted the draft. By the mid-1920s, major league clubs were beginning to develop farm systems, that is, minor league teams owned and controlled by them, at which they could develop young prospects without the risk of players being acquired by major league rivals. The pioneer of this development was Branch Rickey, who then ran the St. Louis Cardinals. As the 1921 national agreement among the major and minor leagues were implemented, Landis lifted a ban on major league teams owning minor league ones. Landis was limited in his adventures of attack on Rickey's schemes, developing talent little cost thanks to Rickey. The Cardinals dominated the National League, winning the league titles in the years from 1926 to 1946. Soon after Landis's appointment, he surprised the major league owners by requiring the disclosure of their minor league interests. Landis fought against the practice of covering up using transfers between 2 teams controlled by the same major league team to make players ineligible for the draft. His first formal act as commissioner was to declare infielder Phil Todd a free agent, dissolving his contract with the St. Louis Browns, at the time run by Rickey, who soon after moved across town to run the Cardinals. In 1928, he ruled future Hall of Famer Chuck Klein a free agent was held. The Cardinals had tried to cover Klein up by having him play in a league where they owned 2 affiliates. The following year, he freed Detroit Tigers prospect and future Hall of Famer Rick Farrell, who attracted a significant signing bonus from the Browns. In 1936, Landis found a teenage pitching prospect, Bob Feller's signing by Major League Club Fargo Moorhead had been a charade. The younger pitcher was for all intents and purposes property of the Cleveland Indians. However, Feller indicated that he wanted to play for Cleveland, and Landis issued a ruling which required the Indians to pay damages to minor league clubs, but allowed them to retain Feller, who went on to a Hall of Fame career with the Indians. Landis' attempts to crack down on covering up provoked the only time he was ever sued by one of his owners. After the 1930 season, minor league Fred Bennett, convinced he was being covered up by the Browns, petitioned Landis for his release. Landis ruled that the Browns could either keep Bennett on their roster for the entire 1931 season, trade him, or release him. Instead, the Browns owner Phil Ball brought suit against Landis in his old court in Chicago. Federal Judge Walter Lindy ruled for Landis, noting that the agreements and rules were intended to endow the commissioner with all the attributes of a benevolent but absolute despot and all the disciplinary powers of the proverbial paterfamilias. Ball intended to appeal, but after a meeting between the team owners and Landis, which the commissioner reminded owners of their agreement not to sue, decided to drop the case. Landis had hoped that the large Cardinal farm system would become economically unfeasible when it proved successful for the Cardinals. He had tolerated it for several years and was in a poor position to abolish it. In 1938, however, finding the Cardinals effectively controlled multiple teams in the same league, a practice disliked by Landis, he freed 70 players from their farm system. As a few of the players were likely prospects for the major leagues, Landis's actions generated headlines, but had little effect on the Cardinals organization and the development of the modern farm system, whereby each major league club has several minor league teams which it used to develop talent and proceeded apace. Rob Nair describes Landis's effort to a noble effort in a good cause, but it was also doomed to fail. Baseball color line. One of the most controversial aspects of Landis's commissionership is the question of race. From 1884, black ball players were informally banned from organized baseball. No black ball player played in organized baseball during Landis's commissionership. Rickey, then running the Brooklyn Dodgers, broke the color line by signing Jackie Robinson to play for the minor league Montreal Royals. In 1946, after Landis's death, Robinson became the first African American in Major League since the 19th century, playing with the Dodgers beginning in 1947. According to a contemporary newspaper column, at the time of his appointment as commissioner, Landis was considered a liberal on race questions. 2 Chicago African American newspapers defended him against the 1921 efforts to impeach him from his judgeship. However, a number of baseball authors have ascribed racism to Landis, who they say actively perpetuated baseball's color line. James Banks in the Pittsburgh Crawfords, tracing the history of that Negro League team, states that Landis, whom the author suggests was a Southerner, Landis was born in Ohio and raised in Indiana, made little effort to disguise his racial prejudices during 25 years in office, and remained a steadfast foe of integration. Negro League historian John Holloway incorrectly termed Landis the hard-bitten Carolinian Kenesaw Mountain Landis in a 2000 article in the Smithsonian Magazine. Writer Bruce Watson states that Landis upheld baseball's unwritten ban on black players and did not push owners toward integration. A number of authors say that Landis banned major league play against black teams for fear the white teams would lose, though they ascribe various dates for this action, and the Dodgers are known to have played black teams in and around their Havana spring training bases as late as 1942. Landis's documented actions on race are inconsistent. In 1938, Yankee Jack Powell was interviewed by a radio station, and when he asked what he did in the off-season, he made comments that were interpreted as meaning he worked as a police officer and beat up African Americans. Landis suspended Powell for 10 days. In June of 1942, the Negro League Kansas City Monarchs played several games against the white Dizzy Dean All-Stars at major league ballparks, attracting large crowds. After 3 games, all won by the Monarchs, Landis ordered a 4th canceled on the ground that the games were outdrawing major league contests. On one occasion, Landis interviewed the Negro League's affairs though he had no jurisdiction to do so. The Crawfords lost a game to a white semi-pro team when their star catcher, Josh Gibson, dropped a pop fly, and Gibson was accused of throwing the game at the behest of gamblers. Landis summoned the black catcher to his office, interviewed him, and announced that Gibson was cleared of wrongdoing. In July of 1942, the Dodger manager, Leo DeRocher, charged that there was a grapevine understanding keeping blacks out of baseball. He was summoned to Landis's Chicago office, and after emerging from a meeting with the commissioner, alleged that he had been misquoted. Landis then addressed the press and stated, "Negroes are not banned from organized baseball by the commissioner, and never have been in 21 years I have served. There is no rule organized baseball prohibiting their participation, and never has been to my knowledge. If DeRocher or any other manager, or all of them, want to sign one, or 25 Negro players, it's all right with me. That is the business of the managers and the club owners. The business of the commissioners is to interpret the rules of baseball and to enforce them." In his 1961 memoir, Veek, as in Rec, longtime baseball executive and owner Bill Veek told of his plan in 1942 to buy the Phillies and stock the team with Negro League stars. Veek wrote and that he told Landis, who reacted with shock and soon moved to block the purchase. In his book, Veek placed some of the blame on the National League president, Ford Frick, but later reserved blame exclusively for Landis, whom he accused of racism, stating in a subsequent interview, "After all, a man who is named Kenesaw Mountain was not born and raised in the state of Maine." However, when Veek was asked for proof of his allegations against Landis, he stated, "I have no proof of that. I can only surmise." According to baseball historian David Jordan, Veek, nothing if not a storyteller, seems to have added these embellishments, sticking in some guys' black hats, simply to juice up his tale. In November of 1943, Landis agreed, after some persuasion, that black sports writer Sam Lacey could make a case for integration of organized baseball before the owners' annual meeting. Instead of Lacey attending the meeting, actor Paul Robeson did. Robeson, though a noted black actor and advocate of civil rights, was a controversial figure for the affiliation with the Communist Party. The owners heard Robeson out, but at Landis' suggestion did not ask him any questions or begin any discussion with him. Nair noted that Landis has been blamed for delaying the integration of the major leagues, but the truth is the owners didn't want black players in the majors any more than Landis did, and it's not likely that, even if Landis hadn't died in 1944, he could have prevented Branch Rickey from bringing Jackie Robinson to the National League in 1947. The Baseball Writers Association of America, after Landis' death in 1944, renamed its most valuable player awards after Landis, but removed his name in 2020 with a vote of 89% of voting members in favor. The president of the association said Landis had notably failed to integrate the game during his tenure. C.C. Johnson Spink, son of Landis' biography, J.G. Taylor Spink, and his successor as editor of the Sporting News, noted the introduction into the reissue of his father's biography of Landis. K.M. Landis was quite human and not infallible. If, for example, he did drag his feet at a race in baseball's color line, he was grievously wrong. But there were so many other of his post-Civil War generation. As far as the World Series and All-Star Game, other innovations, Landis took full jurisdiction over the World Series as a contest between representatives of the two major leagues. Landis was blamed when the umpires called a game on account of darkness, with the score tied during the 1922 World Series. Even though there was still light, Landis decided that such decisions in future would be made by himself, moved forward the starting time of the World Series in future years, and announced that the proceeds from the tied game would be donated to charity. In the 1932 World Series, Landis ordered that tickets for Game 1 at Yankee Stadium only be sold as part of stripes, forcing fans to purchase tickets for all Yankee home games during that series. Bad weather and poor economy resulted in a half-filled stadium, and Landis allowed individual game sales for Game 2. During the 1933 World Series, he instituted a rule that he could throw a player out of a World Series game, a rule which followed the ejection of Washington Senators Heine Manish by umpire Charlie Moran. The following year, while visiting the Cardinals ahead of the Detroit Tigers 9-0 in Game 7, he removed Cardinal Joe Medwick from the game for his own safety when Medwick, the left fielder, was pelted with fruit by Tiger fans after Medwick had been involved in a fight with one of the Tigers. Spink notes that Landis would most likely not have done so were the game within reach of the Tigers. In the 1938 World Series, umpire Moran was hit by a wild throw and suffered facial injuries. He was able to continue, but the incident caused Landis to order that the World Series games and All-Star games be played with 6 umpires. The All-Star game began in 1933. Landis had been a strong supporter of the proposal for such a contest, and after the first game remarked, "That's a grand show, and it should be continued." He never missed an All-Star game in his lifetime, and his final public appearance was the 1944 All-Star Game in Pittsburgh. In 1928, the National League ball clubs proposed an innovation whereby each team's pitchers, usually the weakest hitter in the lineup, would not bat, but be replaced for the purpose of batting and base running by a 10th player. There were expectations that at the interleague meetings that year, the National League teams could vote for it and the American League teams against it, leaving Landis to cast the deciding vote. The proposal was withdrawn, and Landis did not disclose how he would have voted on the early version of the designated hitter rule. Excuse me. We're getting there. Okay. So Landis disliked the innovation of night baseball, played in the evening with the aid of artificial light, and sought to discourage it. Despite this, he attended the first successful minor league night game in Des Moines, Iowa, in 1930, and when Major League Night Baseball began in the late 1930s, Landis got the owners to restrict the number of such games. During World War II, many restrictions on night baseball were reduced, with the Washington Senators permitted to play all their home games except those on Sundays and holidays at night. Next up here, we've got World War II, his death, and his legacy, to end our biography for Kenesaw Mountain Landis. With the entry of the United States into World War II in late 1941, Landis wrote to President Franklin Delano Roosevelt inquiring as to the wartime status of baseball. The president urged Landis to keep baseball open, foreseeing that even those fully engaged in war would benefit from such inexpensive diversions. many major leaguers enlisted or were drafted. Even so, Landis repeatedly stated, "We'll play as long as we can put 9 men on the field." Although many of the teams practiced at their normal spring training sites in 1942, beginning the following year, they were required to train near their home cities or in the Northeast. Landis was virulently opposed to the Axis powers, as he had been towards Kaiser, writing that peace would not be possible until about 15,000 little Himmlers, and Hirohitos were killed. Landis retained a firm hold on baseball despite advancing years, and in 1943 banned the Phillies owner William D. Cox from baseball for betting on his own team. In 1927, Landis' stance regarding gambling had been codified in the rules of baseball. Any player, umpire, or club, or league official, or employee who shall be set any sum whatsoever upon baseball game in connection with which the bettor had a duty to perform shall be declared permanently ineligible. Cox was required to sell his stakes in the Phillies. In early October 1944, Landis checked into St. Luke's Hospital in Chicago, where his wife Winifred had been hospitalized with severe cold. While in the hospital, he had a heart attack, causing him to miss the World Series for the first time in his commissionership. He remained fully alert and, as usual, signed the World Series share checks to players. His contract was due to expire in January of 1946. On November 17, 1944, baseball's owners voted him another 7-year term. However, he died on November 25th. His longtime assistant, Leslie O'Connor, wept as he read the announcement for the press. Landis is buried in Oakwood Cemetery in Chicago. 2 weeks after his death, Landis was voted into the National Baseball Hall of Fame by a special committee. Vote. American League President Will Harridge said of Landis, "He was a wonderful man. His great qualities and downright simplicity impressed themselves deeply on all who knew him." Petrugia suggests that the legend on Landis's Hall of Fame plaque is his true legacy. His integrity and leadership established baseball in the esteem, respect, and affection of the American people. Petrugia notes that Landis was hired by the baseball owners to clean up the sport, and no one could deny Kenesaw Mountain Landis had accomplished that he had been hired to do. According to his biography, Spink, Landis may have been arbitrary, self-willed, and even unfair, but he called them as he saw them, and he turned over to his successor and the future a game cleansed of the nasty spots which followed World War I. Kenesaw Mountain Landis put the fear of God into weak characters who might otherwise have been inclined to violate their trust, and for that I, as a lifelong lover of baseball, am eternally grateful. So I'm going to end it with just reading his baseball plaque on the card here, on this set of cards that I have. Kenesaw Mountain Landis, baseball's first commissioner, elected in 1920. He died in office in 1944. His integrity and leadership established baseball in respect, esteem, and affection of the American people. Well, there we go. That was awesome to share that lengthy but nice biography That stream was almost 2 hours, but well worth it in the long haul. So we're going to put this onto the side here. And I believe Tuesday for our next biography is going to be Barry Larkin. So that's going to be awesome. Barry Larkin. Faith, Family, and Sports' favorite player, Barry Larkin. It's going to take me a while to get Barry Larkin's baseball cards put in order. But it will be fun for sure. So, and that will be episode 175 on Tuesday. What do we got here? Still 5 thumbs up. 5 thumbs up. What do we got? 8 people watching. Let me see if we do a refresh here. See if we got more than 5 thumbs up. Get this loaded up real quick here. Okay. Get you out of the way. It's almost loaded up here. Don't forget, thummies up, thummies up, thummies up for me. Gonna get ready to do our Fairfield Saturday. Oh, come on. 7 thumbs up. 3 more thumbs up for double digits. I was hoping I could get double digits today, but you never know. Titus, God is great. Hello there, Titus. Thanks for popping into the stream here. Alright. So we're going to finish up the stream here. Finish up our Saturday unscheduled live stream. But we will do this. So shout out to Lockin99. Gonna give him his 5+ here for the Fairfield box we're gonna open. That's a bonus. And that was a long one, Don. Jason suggested the abridged version. I was thinking about that, but I was like, I could not do justice by giving it an abbreviated version. But we will be doing Barry Larkin. That might be another long one too. But we will have fun. Donald is finished. I'll be going live and sharing what I picked up today for $30. Yep, I'll be done here in a minute there, Mickey. I'm just going to open up this Fairfield Friday from Jason. Won't take too long to go through this. Got a pack of cards here. It's probably going to be it'll probably be a 2022 opening day, I believe. Is it 2022 that's been in these? Oh, no, it's a wax pack. We got a wax pack. There we go. Empty box. That'll go into my Fairfield repacks. It's a... Oh, there we go. We got a different one. We got a different one here. Might just save this one. This is a 1988 Donruss. 1988 Donruss. We'll open up that one last, or... No, I'm probably going to save that. I'm going to save that for my Patreons. We won't open up this one. Should I open it up, or should I just save it for my Patreons? After Donald is finished, I'll be going live and sharing what I picked up today. Alright, we'll get this done really quick there. Yeah, just sent you most of a box of those. Yeah, you did for Christmas, so Yeah, I think I'll save that and put that into that box. And we'll just open up the cards here. We'll go through the cards here and see what we've got here. Oh, there we go. Stephen Pryor with the Seattle. Oh, look at that. A first Bowman card for my Seattle Mariners. That'll give me a Seattle Mariner. Stephen Pryor. First Bowman Chrome. (2010). Then we got a Steve Avery. Steve Avery with Atlanta. Oh, there we go. We got a 2017 All-Star Game. Two more. Blake Sweetheart, or Sweetheart, I think, with the Boston Red Sox, and Jake Barrett with the Arizona Diamondbacks. That will go with my 2017 All-Star card set I'm trying to put together from Jason from these. That was pretty interesting. Then we've got Tim LaCosta with the Diamondbacks. We've got Albert Pujols with the Angels. Then we've got Edwin Rios with the Dodgers. Rusty Meckham, Top Stadium Club for the Kansas City Royals. Then who do we got here? We've got Gene Nelson with the Oakland Athletics. We've got Matthew Quattro and Alex Sanchez with the Tampa Bay Devil Rays. We are officially below zero, -22 wind chill. Oh my word, Jason. Kansas City's cold. Then we've got Hippolito Pena with the Yankees. We've got a Robin Ventura, Chicago White Sox. Three-dimensional type card there. Then we've got a Mike Greenwell with the Boston Red Sox. Next we've got John Wetland with the Montreal Expos. Gerald Perry with the Cardinals, 92 Ultra Fleer. Then we've got a Bip Roberts with the Cincinnati Reds. Shout out to Faith Family and Sports, especially for his Barry Larkin. We're going to be doing a Barry Larkin biography. You guys need to let him know that. Bob Patterson with the Pirates. I'll probably send him a text letting him know I'm doing Barry Larkins. There we go. We got our Fairfield double, Juan Beringer with the Minnesota Twins. That's our Fairfield double there. Haven't seen a Fairfield double recently till that one right there. That's pretty cool. And then we've got a Tim Raines, Rock Raines. That's a Hall of Famer. Looks like our first Hall of Famer. Mickey Brantley with the Seattle Mariners. Another Seattle Mariner card there. Kenny James, draft pick. That'll go into my rookie cards. Draft pick card. Rance Mulliniks with the Blue Jays. Jeff Russell with the Rangers. Sil Campusano with the Blue Jays. Edgar Pedro Martinez, Hall of Famer. There's another Hall of Famer. Alright, next we got Clint Hurdle with the St. Louis Cardinals. We got our Mariners team leaders. That's, I believe, Phil Bradley and can't remember, is that Harold Reynolds? I think so. Joe Boever with the Braves. We've got Greg Harris with the Rangers. Carl Best with the Seattle Mariners. There's another Seattle Mariner card. Felix Hernandez. Oh my word, a Felix Hernandez with the Seattle Mariners. We're loading up the Seattle Mariners in this one. We got a Bobby Mercer. Bobby Mercer. Action packed. It's a pretty cool card. Like that one. Might end up on eBay soon. Uh-oh, we've got a star rookie. Star rookie, upper deck. Jim Tatum. Star rookie. Then we've got Tom Foley with the Expos. We've got Matt Noakes with the Yankees. Greg Swindell with the Indians. Mike Easler with the Yankees, Giants leaders. Mike Kingery with the Royals. Mike Scott with the Astros. John Butcher with the Indians. We've got, star rookie, Norm Hutchins. Another rookie card there. We've got a capture the flag. Who's this? Gary Gaeta with the St. Louis Cardinals. An MLB Showdown game card. Who is that there? New York Yankee. Doesn't really say who's on the card there. Casey Stengel? No, not Casey Stengel. Have to look that card up and see who that one is. That's an oddball type card for sure. Haven't seen some of those in a Fairfield in a while. John McNamara. Then we've got Ron Robinson with the Reds. Jay Buhner, Gold Cup card. Rick Cerrone with the Brewers. Tim Conroy with St. Louis. And Ron Hassey with the White Sox. So nothing really to write home about there. Got our Fairfield double there. Yeah, that's right. Look at all those Mariners. Don't usually, what we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Almost, but not quite 7, but 6 Mariners. A Pedro Guerrero, a Tim Raines, 2 Hall of Famer cards. Our Fairfield double, 1 Beringer. And then 2 more cards that'll go in my All-Star Game 2017. Have to see if they're duplicates or not. But card number 551 for Series 1 and 664. So that is pretty cool. We will set that there. And I think we're good. So you going to go live there, Boomslang? If so, I'm going to sign off here. Oh, I got to do my 2-minute warning real quick. Got to do my 2-minute warning, and then we'll get ready to sign off here so we can get you guys signed in to your 2-minute warning. And then everybody jump on over to Mickey's. Okay? And we'll catch his live stream, see what he's found for $30. What the heck? I hate when I do that. There we go. So we got 232, 234. We'll end our 2-minute warning. Then I'll put all these cards where they belong. Put them in my rookie box. Everything of that nature. But we will have fun. That one looks like a lighter orange and a darker orange on that Fairfield double. Alright, let's get our 2-minute warning done so that way I can go ahead and get ready to close up shop here. Got that first Bowman, Stephen Pryor. Fairfield doubles here, and our We'll have to find out what rookies we got in here and put them in my rookie box. If I get any Patreon sign up there. What do we got here? What do we got here? Big Ray. Big Ray's still here for +2. Then we've got Guru of Baseball for +2. We've got a Boom Slang here for +2. Alright. And we've got 234, so let's end the 2-minute warning. Alright. So I'm going to go ahead and get ready to sign off there, Mickey. I'm going to go to your channel and see if we can watch your what you got for $30 today. Alright. So I got Big Ray, I got Guru, I got Boomslang. Oh, Lockin's still here, +2. How much snow Bernie get? Oh, he that's why he's not here right now. Bernie got like I can't remember for sure. He got like quite a few inches. He had to go out with a blower and blow some snow out of the way. Maybe so he could move his car so he could go to work or something. But I know Bernie got a lot of snow. He said that earlier when he was in here. He said 14 inches and still coming down. Wow, that's a lot of snow. We had a little dusting of a snow, but not that much. Appreciate everybody. Y'all take care. This has been Don Blomdahl with our Hall of Fame biography, episode 174, Kenesaw Mountain Landis, Trivia ×2, and our Fairfield Friday on Saturday. So until then, y'all take care. Go to Mickey's channel. Go to Boomslang. Let's watch his live stream. And I'll be over there in just a minute there, Mickey. So y'all take care. Have a wonderful and blessed day. And as always, be blessed. We'll see y'all on Tuesday. Bye for now and have a great and